Esports has changed forever in Trackmania, and that's a good thing. Next year, the Trackmania World Tour will happen, and the 10 maps that will be played have just dropped. I'm gonna show you the world records and rate the maps right now. Before we start, there's always a big debate on the randomness of the Trackmania Grand League and now Trackmania World Tour maps. I am rating this purely from a viewer perspective, so a little bit of luck on the maps just makes the maps even more exciting for me as a viewer, if it's not too high, of course, but some pro players will strongly disagree and they want 100% skill-based maps. I'm a viewer, I'm rating these as a viewer. Let's go. Okay, first track is called Aeropipes. I activated the top 3 world records after about a week, I think, and these tracks are all mixed style, so only pro players that have mastered every surface will have a chance to win. And look at this, a plastic slide, very cool in my opinion. 180 ice slide up the hill. All the ice slides are very well calculated. They have some ice pros in the mapping team this time, which is great. What else? First, pipe here, giving the map its name. The map always consists of a pretty long mixed style part and then an identity in the end, which is an especially tricky or memorable part in the end. And there were some debates in the past as well about the difficulty in the end, and I think they made it better by just making the maps harder, so now the difficulty is kinda more same-ish between the identity, which is coming up here. Jump to the left on the pipe, jump again on this pipe, and third time's a charm, another pipe. Whew, okay. Okay, first map done. It looked quite easy, to be honest, except for the identity, of course. Trackmania has a habit of looking way easier than it actually is, so try to jump on those pipes. It's not that easy as it looks. So, but I don't think it's too hard. Map looks cool, the jumps look cool. Is it a B or an A? It's not extremely flashy, but very well rounded. I'm gonna put it in B for now, and then we'll see how the others compare. Maybe it's an A. Okay, this is Gyroscope, top 3. Side note, the texture mod looks really good to me, but the scenery will change. They will increase scenery detail and stuff in the future. And this is an ice map, and you have to be very careful with ice. I like ice, but it can overshadow the rest of the map because ice creates very big gaps, and then the rest of the map doesn't matter anymore. It's not too bad, I think, but the bobsleigh loop, I don't know, looks kind of dumb to me. This part I really like, no brakes, and then you have to release the right amount. That is something that doesn't happen very often in Trackmania, but it's a cool skill. Very long ice slide, which is calculated very well. That's cool. Into a bug slide, but that's consistent as well. This jump looks really cool as well. Stay as low as possible, and then there's the identity, a 360. And a bug slide and another 360. I think, man, that looks hella cool. And I looked at it a little bit. It doesn't look too random, so I think it is good. It looks cool. 360s are, of course, one of the best things you can do in the game. Just the bobsleigh loop, I don't know. That looks a bit too dank to me, but overall, I think this is gonna create some really cool matches, so gonna put it in A. Okay, this is Slowdown. By the way, I hope they fixed this sponsor sign. It's really cool that we have a sponsor now. We wanted that for a while, but it's glitching every 0.5 seconds is a bit annoying. Really cool though that we have one. Okay, so mixed style as always, cool start, and this is something new, reactor boost over penalty grass. Very bumpy, but they find a good line. Looks kind of cool in my opinion. Then into a bobsleigh turn with cruise control. And then the identity's almost already coming up. I think these jumps are all also cool. You can go just a little bit more right and risk to land earlier, or go a little bit more left and be safe. And these small details are all over the maps. And here it is. You have fragile, you are not allowed to leave the ground really, otherwise your car will break. And that's the identity. Find the best way through these mountains. Okay, so how good is it? I think the identity is something very new and different. I really like the use of the fragile block. If you get airborne, you will crash and your car will be very slow. So that's very cool. I think the identity is absolutely an S tier, but the map is a little bit less interesting. It's good, but a bit less interesting. So I'm gonna put it in A for now, I think. Next map, this is called Agility Dash. We have a reactor boost into a wall ride. Very dank stuff, but we have to remember this is an arcade racer, so that is exactly what I want to see. I don't want normal maps. For normal maps, we can just go to F1. So this is what I want. Very fast start, almost full speed. Now into some drifts, some dirt as well. These are always mixed style, and I think that's a good thing. So not a dirt Andy doesn't have any advantage over a full speed Andy. And remember the full speed Andy? Also like these intended cuts, they just look very cool. Jumping up to the road, and now the full speed Andys. Look at this. Nadeo in the past has said that speed slides are not a thing that should be in the Grand League, but here it is. We have one speed slide now in the game, acknowledging that full speed is indeed a big part of Trackmania. I think that's great. And the next part will look a little bit scuffed maybe to most of you, but this is exactly what we want to do. We want to give the pros some let's say riddles to solve. There are many lines and you have to figure out which is the best one, and hopefully in the end, in the competitions, we will even see different lines. And look at this Agility Dash. The identity is, I think, the absolute coolest, and it also won the identity competition. Flying over plastic blocks, that is just amazing to look at. It is not too hard, but there can be some upsets, and that is exactly what I want. 90% skill and maybe 10% luck or something like that. Looks amazing, and I think Agility Dash is my first S tier. Acknowledging full speed, the best identity in my opinion, a cool start, a very tough break turn as well, so some really interesting stuff here to work with and see the pros figure it out. Wow! Jumping into the next map called Reps. Starting off with a small jump onto a beam. And then some mixed parts. Looks cool. I like sausage. It's very technical. And oh, a fragile block into a 180 very sharp turn. Remember the fragile block? I'm gonna tell you something about it later. But first of all, look at this. A grass part with some concrete in the middle. So some very intricate steering here to maximize speed. And the sliding on there with the surface changes looks very interesting. Another very sharp turn over another beam. This is also a really cool part, that the identity kind of ripples through the map now. So the identity probably has to do something with beams, as we can imagine, into a looping. Not super interesting to the pros, but loopings just look very cool to us casuals. Now some weird grass parts for them to find the best line, and this is the identity. Some very tough jumps onto very small beams. And here's the finish. Oh, yeah, that jump in the end is extremely hard. But there is a safe finish behind it, so will you risk it? Maybe crash into the finish pole or not? I think it's again a very well balanced identity in my opinion. It is not too random as we have had in the past, but it's introducing a little bit of luck element, which will make it, again, to me as a viewer, that much more exciting. Oh, that's another thing I wanted to mention about the fragile. So wall bangs are not allowed by the players, as well as cuts. You are not allowed to go for cuts, but since the maps are now also in matchmaking, I think every cut should be allowed. The pro players can report cuts, so no one goes for them, but I think the maps should be built in a way that the cuts are not possible. And if you manage to hide a cut and not tell anyone and then pull it off in a match, I congratulate you. The cuts are part of Trackmania, and I think they should kind of embrace it, in my opinion. It will create some upsets, of course, for one race, but for the next race, everyone will adjust, go for the cut as well, or the cut will get fixed. I think that will be kind of funny, but I understand both opinions. Okay, so how good is reps? The map is really cool. I like the grass part with the concretes, and the identity is not an S tier, but also good. You can risk it, but it's not too hard. It looks cool. So I think it's also an A tier. Really good map pack so far, but we'll see. 5 maps to go. Let's jump into the next one. All right, back and forth, backward start, and already an unintended way here. You are, as the mapper planned it, we're going backwards onto the ice and then turn around. They turn around before, and it's faster, so so far it is allowed to do this. And also these world records will not care. Then 2 bug slides on plastic. Interesting with the water wheels. That's a bit faster. Then you have a no brakes. You cannot air brake here. Jump into an ice section. 360. Look at the smoke going up from the wheels. And then going straight again. Wow. Very dank part into some grass. Really like the turnaround. Into a booster to the left, and then this is the identity backwards through some 90-degree small platform parts with pillars into the finish. Okay, this is back and forth. To me, the turnaround with the ice is really cool. I heard from the pro players that it is a bit too random. You can easily lose 0.3, 0.4 of a second with a slightly wrong angle, and I totally get this, but I will just focus on the viewer experience in this. And I think this looks hella cool with the smoke going up and the turnaround. It looks really cool. That's all I gotta say. But I personally am not a fan of going backwards. I think it looks weird, and so yeah, that's all I gotta say about this. I will not enjoy watching this map too much. Does it objectively look quite cool? I guess so. So I think for most it might be B maybe. But what I've heard about the pros, it is quite a bit random, and I don't want it to be too random. I like a little luck element in the maps, but not too much, so the pro players are just dicing it out. So I think this is my first C tier map. It's just personal preference. I don't like driving backwards. It looks dumb to me. Sorry, virtual. Okay, here is Flip of Faith. That sounds a bit random, but we'll see what it is about. And here's the top 3 world records, starting off with a normal mixed section on the map into a very tough quarter pipe jump. That's gonna be insane, and this flip's so cool. An RPG-like flip out of the quarter pipe onto the platform. That looks immensely cool in my opinion. So really cool map so far. A sneaky intended cut as well. Those look nice. Into another mixed part, some dirt as well, and some reactor. Water pipe jump from grass to platform and back to grass. Try to keep as low as possible here, avoiding airtime. That's gonna be interesting as well. And here's the identity. Flips on the side of the dirt and up to the finish. Wow, okay. Very tough to rate this map as a viewer. So the start is really cool with a flip out of the quarter pipe jump. But then we have a bit of a normal section, not too interesting. And then we go into a very quick identity, which is cool to watch, but I think from trying it myself as well, that is extremely random. I'm not sure if they can make that regular. So this might be a bit too much for me, and the middle part of the map was not super memorable. The start flip though, very cool, so I'm gonna keep it in B, I think. It's a good map. By the way, all maps are subject to change. Some parts will definitely change, until January, where the first match will be held. I will put links into the description if you want to put it into your calendar to not forget. 3 maps to go. Next one. Next track, this is called Freestyle. We start on plastic directly into cruise control. That is kind of weird, but I like weird stuff, and seeing the pros figure it out is always a treat. Also, subtle use of custom blocks, I think that's cool. And these surface changes are really interesting. Look at Scrappy making a small flick here. There's a lot to be gained on every corner, and the maps are designed in a way that that is exactly the case. Every turn has some small intricacies to it as well, but I think that's true for all the maps. And oh, a very dank part here in the middle of the map, an ice quarter pipe, but you have to approach it from the side. So that will be very interesting to look at, in my opinion. Jump into a downhill. Probably a release jump as well. You might be too fast. And here's the identity. There is a trick when you go in a very specific angle on dirt wall rides. You get a small boost, and that's the only way you will make it up these jumps. Okay, what do I think about it from a viewer perspective? The map is good. Good map, lots of surfaces, cool surface changes. I'm gonna enjoy watching them optimize every surface change and stuff like that. The part in the middle with the ice quarter pipe jump looks really cool in my opinion, but the identity is a bit boring in my opinion. You can have your own opinion, put it in the comments if you want, but to me, the identity of Freestyle looks a bit meh. The map is cool though. I will really enjoy the part in the middle with the quarter pipe jump of ice, but the identity, kinda lame to look at, I think. They do a small flick and get up a wall ride of dirt. Doesn't look super interesting. I think it's a cool mechanic and skill to have for them, but it's not the most interesting. It's also not too bad, but yeah. So the identity alone is somewhere down here, but the map is definitely cool. So the quarter pipe jump and the map itself being just very flowy and having some intricate and cool surface changes puts it up to B, I think. Maybe B minus. That's not a C, is it? No, I'll put it in B. It's still fun to watch. Okay, this map is called Parkour. Lots of night maps, by the way. I think I would have enjoyed a few more day maps, but okay. And this map, the jumps on this look so cool. These how do you call it? Non-grid placed blocks, really cool. We have a bit of ice as well. 90-degree jump downhill into an ice slide. That looks kind of cool, doesn't it? Keep the grip here. Another quarter pipe jump coming up. That's always fun to see how they optimize it. You can risk it a lot here if you want, but you can also go a bit safer and not lose too much. Bobsleigh turn. You have to have a good entry there. You're pretty fast on that one. Otherwise you will fly out. Ride the dirt banks. Haven't had that too much. And here's the identity. Super dank jumps and they make it look easy. This is so hard. It took me forever to get through this once. And there's the finish. It looks great. It's gonna be maybe a little bit too random. I'm not sure. Of what I've seen so far from the pro players, this looks like a very tough identity. Not too tough though. The map looks cool, the ice slide looks cool. Overall though, I think we've had better maps. And I'm gonna put this in B as well. It's a very average in the middle map, it's not bad. But there is some maps in here that I'm gonna enjoy more. Last map, this is Slippyslides. Top 3 world records going into water immediately. That's gonna be interesting. You have to watch out to not oversteer with water wheels. A jump into ice. Doesn't look too bad though, it's just a little bit of ice into a 180 slide. That looks cool. Now we have Fragile, and oh, this part is so cool. They start from the left and weave their way to the right to not lose ground contact and get the maximum acceleration. Very cool part, very well calculated. A water turn, I'm not too much of a fan of that. Some dirt turns again, and we're approaching the end already, and here it is, and this looks so cool. 180 jump onto reactor, some boosters up the hill, and I heard it's not too random. It looks a bit random, but apparently it's not, so all good there. It looks amazing, and this is the identity. Red boost into bug slide, plastic bug slide, and a second one, and a third one. Yeah. What do we think of this? Okay, if I'm going strictly by viewer experience, I think this is an S tier. This is an amazing map to look at, but I still care a little bit about competitiveness, and this just seems a slight bit too random in the end. There's gonna be very big gaps depending on the angle you approach these slides at, so I'm gonna bump it down 1 and give it an A. The rest of the map looks very cool and very enjoyable to watch, with the weaving over the dirt and the 180 jump into the reactor. It looks amazing, but it might be a bit too much, a little too dank. Looks really cool though. And that's my tier list. No D tier. I think all maps are really good. The C tier, arguably just a pet peeve of mine. I'm not the biggest fan of going backwards. Otherwise it might be at least a B tier for many of you. And then a very strong S, A and B tier for this season. So I think this season's map pack might be the best one we've had so far. So if you enjoy Trackmania and haven't watched esports so far, check out the links in the description. I think the season will be very cool. And that's all from me today. Goodbye.